everybody, to our Week 4 press conference. We're going to be joined here with head coach Kenni Burns talking about our trip out to Rocky Top and wrapping up the non-conference season with a trek out to Happy Valley to take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Coach, I just want to put Tennessee to bed and talk a little bit about the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, Tennessee, obviously a very talented football team. Like I told their coach after the game, been doing this for a long time, as good as a football team that I've seen, and they've got a good chance to I think compete for a national championship as they move forward in their program. Obviously, we didn't play well enough to compete in the game. I thought our guys did play hard, but from an execution standpoint, watching tape, we didn't execute at a very high level, and that starts with coaching. I think we've got to coach better. I know we got to coach better and put our guys in position to be able to make plays offensively and defensively. The talented group, obviously, they were, and I think our coaches tried to do a good job of simplifying the game plan and let our guys play fast. But when you do that, sometimes you give away things, and we definitely did that here and there. Everybody talks about the Tennessee offense and what they've done, 50-plus points every game they played in. But when you look at the Tennessee defense, I tell you what, that was an exceptional defense, and their front seven is as good as I think I've ever seen at the collegiate level. And, to not give up I don't think they've given up a touchdown in the last 16 quarters, so none this year. And then last year in their bowl game, I don't think they've let anybody score either. So they're doing a great job there. And I knew we'd have to play really clean in order to compete in the game, and we didn't play clean enough. So we're wrapping that up and on to Penn State, another very good football team, another top 10 football team in the country. We got to go in there and just continue to get better as a football program and as an organization, and we will. Very familiar with their coaching staff. Coach Franklin is a guy that not only do I have a ton of respect for, have a relationship with, and a man that as a minority coach you look up to with the success he's had and what he's done up to date. And then Tom Allen was a guy who was the head coach of my alma mater, so obviously was been a friend for many years here, and then I believe his nephew worked on our staff through that relationship with me and Tom before going to Penn State and there now. And there's other guys on that staff that I'm just familiar with, and they do a great job, very well coached football team, a team that's consistently good, a team that's consistently a top 10 football team, and a team that will give us everything we can handle. And we've got to be on our point and again, make it about us and how we can get better as a football team as we get closer and closer to conference play. With that being said, I'll open up to questions. Thanks.
Coach, just a few from our virtual contingent that couldn't make it today. How did you come out of the Tennessee game health-wise, value trending that way as you go to Penn State?
Yeah, a couple injuries here and there. We took some lumps in that one, and even leading up to that one, going in there, we had some bumps and bruises, really starting back from Pitt, and we've been managing that as best we can as a coaching staff. The great thing is there's not a lot of season-ending injuries, so we'll get a lot of guys back by the time we're in the conference play in the thick of it. But there are some guys that are bumped up. Alex Branch has a shoulder. I appreciate him so much. He's a captain. That shoulder has been bothering him for 2 weeks now, and he wanted to muster it up and go out there and play. And he lasted a drive before he was out. And then we've got redshirt freshman Tevin Tucker back there playing. And there's guys like that all over the place. Kai Thomas has been nursing something too, and he played a limited role in that game. And then Curtis Douglas got his knee bent up in that game, so he'll be questionable for this week as well. And then there's other things here and there with guys. And he didn't play Tommy in that game because of his finger. He's got a little bit of issue with his finger, but it's little things here and there. And with a team that's got so much youth and not enough experienced depth behind it, it's going to show when we have our starters go down. But we're getting healthy. We'll use this week to get healthy on the practice field and do some different things there. But I think the biggest thing for us is making sure by the time we get to league play, we've got all our horses ready to play.
Thank you, Coach. Yep. Go to our man on the sidelines, and Dana Richardson. Dana, if you'd unmute and ask your questions for Coach.
Yeah, Coach, I know you've had a couple of running backs banged up like you just talked about with Kai and Curtis. What do you think that experience did for guys like Jordan and Cade getting some carries in there, and how can they translate that experience into further weeks?
Yeah, well, the way it's going, you're going to have to utilize that whole room and even maybe bring a guy into that room from another position. I think that it was beneficial for those guys in the future, obviously, as their numbers are going to get called, and even like a guy like Aiden Harris, another true freshman that's got some ability, putting him out there too and giving him some reps. But the way that room's going, you lost Gavin Garcia in the preseason, who was a big part of our offense and our run game, and then you got your starting tailback who's been nursing an injury there too. So We've got some things there, but as coaches, this is where you got creative. We've got really talented receivers, and we got to find ways to get them the ball as well. In this thing, as we nurse our running backs back to health.
And you've gone against a few offenses so far in the first couple of weeks that are really fast-paced in both Pitt and Tennessee. How is the adjustment different in terms of your defensive game plan going against Drew Aller and Penn State?
It's I think the game plan is just to really stop the run like always, and then be able to not get beat deep. We want to limit the explosive plays. We obviously have to tackle way better than what we're tackling right now. And they've got two really good running backs. I think that the quarterback's a good player, but I think they start with wanting to run the ball and getting their running backs going. Played against this team, played against these running backs when I was at Minnesota. Extremely talented and gifted guys, and we got to do a good job of making sure that we limit the explosive plays, tackle the ball when we can, swarm to the ball, get 11 hats to the ball, and do the best we can. We played some really good offenses for sure, but again, as long as we're learning from each game that we're playing, it should help us in the future.
And the last question I have for you, Coach, clearly the guy you want throwing the ball the most is Devin Cargman. Can you talk a little bit about his development through the first 3 weeks and some areas of his game you want to see him improve on as you head into conference play after Penn State?
Yeah, Dev's got to just keep becoming more of a leader on the field. Definitely when you get into a situation where you're in the big lights like last week, and you got a lot of youth around you. You got a lot of not even youth as much as inexperience around you, guys who haven't been in that setting playing, and that's where quarterback's leadership's got to be at the forefront of it. And that's where I thought Dev could have been a little bit better last week, but he's done a solid job of getting us in the right plays and making sure he knows his game plan, his checks, and where the ball's supposed to go. But his leadership, and then just a little bit being more accurate with the ball, these are things he'd tell you too as he examines himself every Sunday. But he is our quarterback. Our team definitely still believes in him, and we're not making any moves there. But again, he's a guy when he's at full strength. I think he's as good as anybody in our league. But we've got to get him there as the coaches, and we got to put him in situations where Dev could be successful and be able to do what he does. I thought JD went out there and did a great job. I think you saw a little bit of what the future is going to look like with JD. I think he's a capable quarterback who's got good ability with his feet. And, he's a guy that, I think he showed that he could have maybe some packages in the game plan too. Definitely when you're down at the running back position to get a plus one run here and there.
Thanks, Coach.
Let's go to the man in the booth and Rob Politsky. Rob, will you ask your questions for Coach?
Thanks a lot, Dan. Coach, the bad snaps in the first half, is that mostly, do you just attribute that to the crowd noise? Was there anything that you noticed in those 4 bad snaps that, are correctable, can be done differently?
Yeah, I think it starts with coaching. We've got to coach it better. We had a silence cadence that we don't typically do. We practice it all week. We practice it with a ton of crowd noise in there. But in the same thing, the ability of the quarterback's volume with the tap of the guard was off at times, and it cost us big. And you look at a couple of those situations early. We are in 3rd and 1, and if you play the clip, we should get the first down based on the call that we have, and the ball's overhead. It happened twice, and those are critical, because not only does it not give you the first down, but it also it flipped the field. And our defense in the first quarter, everybody's looking at the points total, and they're getting frustrated with their defense. But our defense playing the short field the whole first quarter of the game, so that makes it extremely hard for Coach Morgan to be successful when you're playing on plus 50 and minus 45 the whole first quarter. So we talked about logistically how we can do it better, how we can practice it better. We made a move to move Elijah to guard to get some of the emotional stress that comes in a game like that off of him. You could argue that it backfired a little bit. I think we'd still do the same thing, knowing what we know. Just execution of it has to be better than what we did on Saturday, and I think that's a learning moment for Tony George, but also our coaching staff too, with what we're doing and how we're doing it.
You got a chance to look at a lot of younger guys. Some guys got their first ever chance to play for KSU. Who stood out there a little bit for you, and did you find some guys that you think can help you out later this year that hadn't had a chance yet?
Sure. I think when you look at, Cade Wolford did a good job when he got in the game, just executing the offense. I think J.D. Sherrod did a phenomenal job when he got in the game. of just taking what the defense is giving him, using his feet, which is his weapon, and doing a good job there. On the defense side of the ball, Tevin Tucker and the thing about it is, I hear what you're saying, but we're already playing a lot of freshmen, and even if they're not starting, they're in the two deep, and they're getting reps like Nylan Brown, like Jaden Studio starting. I think Jaden played probably his best game, honestly. Jaden Studio, and he's a true freshman. He did a great job, and then there's guys like Joel Boma, who's a redshirt freshman, Tevin Tucker, who's a redshirt freshman. All those guys played significant time in this game, even when the game was at the start of the game. So I think those guys they'll take these reps and they'll grow from them. And I know they're ugly, and it's the kind of the muck, and they're as prideful as anyone, and they take pride in their work, and they had a good week of practice. But until you get in that situation and you understand how fast the game is actually being played, I think you don't really know till you know. So those are a couple of the guys that I know played, but standing out, I think J.D. Sherrod had a solid performance, in Kate Wolford and Jaden Studio. But other than that, I think it was a learning experience for the most of our freshmen and our underclassmen.
What do you think of Josh Smith's performance? Obviously, he had a lot of punts in the first half, and I thought it was one of his better efforts, all in all, for a whole game.
Who's that? I'm sorry.
The punting game with Josh Smith. What did you think of him?
Rob, did you repeat the question?
Yeah, I asked about the punting game with Josh Smith. What do you thought of that?
Yeah, I thought Josh, he mishit one of them. I thought other than that, he did a solid job. We've got some directional kicks. We were trying to, their returner had I think 2 returns that went to the house already leading up to the game. So we knew that it was important that we directional kick and we try to put him inside the hash and keep him inside the hash. And we knew that he would maybe make the first guy miss, and then we had to rally to the ball. So I thought Josh, he mishit one of them, but all the rest were right on par. I think we can keep improving as a coverage unit. But we've played really 2 really dynamic returners. I think the kid at Pitt has got his second one this past week too. So there's some stuff there where the talent is really exceptional that we're playing against, and there's obviously stuff you can clean up. We got to clean up our punt net and help Josh out a little bit when he does hit a good ball, and he outkicks the coverage a little bit. So he's done a good job so far this year, but there's still a lot of things as a coaching staff we can clean up.
My last one is, can you just speak to the strengths overall Penn State and where are they really impressive at?
It's another top 10 football team. It's like Tennessee. You're not going to find very many weaknesses anywhere. I thought BG did a good job with some of the formational stuff to create confusion, but I think like any good coaching staff, they're going to make adjustments. They're coming off a bye week. They're going to know how to fix these things and grow. But they're exceptional. They're good on offense. They can throw the ball. They can run the ball. They've got a good front 5. Defensively, Coach Allen is one of the best defensive minds in the game. I've always thought that before he even got to Penn State. When he was at Indiana, we were going against him when I was at Minnesota. And if you look at their front 7 on defense, they've got 3D linemen that have a ton of experience. A Mike linebacker that's as good as anybody who I recruited out of high school from Detroit. And then their back end is exceptional as well. So this is a complete football team, and to go against West Virginia in the first game and win as convincing as they did, and to do what they did against BG, who I think is a really, really good football team, we'll have our hands full, and we've got to play clean. We've got to take it one play at a time. We've got to just get better and worry about ourselves and see if we can give ourselves a shot in the fourth quarter. But we will have a very uphill challenge, again, facing another top 10 team who's experienced as well.
Thank you.
Anything else for Coach?
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan, you were muted there. Coach, it seems like you got ahead of the chains there early in the game. First down, second down, efficiency. Do you take away some morsels from that to say we're starting to build some things here? Do you pull some of the positives out of that?
Yeah, I think you could pull some of the positives out of it for sure. We were moving the ball okay. I didn't look at that game and say, oh, man, they got us schematically here on offense. I looked at it and said, okay, we're first and, you get 4 yards to staying on schedule. First and second down, we were on schedule. A lot of manageable third downs. And then, we bit ourselves in the foot a little bit with the snaps on the first 3 or 4 drives, So there's some positive for sure to do that. And I think that's what the guys saw. Like, okay, the score is the score. And I get it. People are going to look at that and obsess over that. As coaches, we're looking for the growth. Okay, where's the growth at in our football team? I thought our team played extremely hard. They did. You know, now did they go outside of what they've been taught a couple times? Yeah, absolutely, especially in tackling. We always talk about the tackling circuit. We start every practice with it. We didn't use it in the game. We were taking shots and trying to get kill shots instead of using the circuit. And a good team, a good back, he's going to bounce off of that and circle you and make it an explosive play. So there's learning stuff there, you know, about doing what you're told in the pressure of the situation. And then offensively, like you said, we're staying on schedule was a positive for sure. But again, there's still a lot of things to clean up. I think this football team right now is at a weird spot. It's not a bad thing at all, but they know they're gifted and they're talented. I think they're learning things as they progress, but they're learning against really good competition. You know, when you look at this, you know, our Power 4 games, every team we played is undefeated, and they're teams to me that have a chance to win their league. And we're a team that's growing, that's developing, but it's not ideal for a team that's learning how to play together, connected, and to play the brand of football that we want to play here. We played a different brand, completely different before I got here, and what we're building now is this idea of complementary football where everybody has a role to play, from special teams to defense to offense, and it takes a while to get it all to gel together, and we're in the middle of that gel. But I agree with you, there's definitely a ton of positives to pull from the game as well as we keep building this thing.
I'm going to flip it over to the other line. That offensive line of Tennessee's second year in a row, they're up for the Joe Moore Award. They bring 4 out of 5 starters back, and the fifth guy's a transfer, was all SEC at LSU last year. That's an incredible group, and I thought the defensive line, there were some positives. I thought that you played the run well early on, and then some chunk plays came to bit you. Do you take a look at that and say, guys, we're taking steps closer to where we want to be with this?
Yeah, no, we did. You know, I think that, again, I still believe this, and people, I'm sure, will use it against me on social media, which I don't really care, but I think our defensive line will be as good as anyone in the league. I truly believe that. When we get in the league play and we watch our opponents, I think we'll watch the defensive line and say they're talented and we have a shot if they're playing at their best. Again, when you look at this game, I think that there's a lot of things that we can clean up from a schematical standpoint. And I think that's what's, to me as a coach who's growing a football team, that's what's exciting. And, you know I've talked to a lot of my peers in the offseason and even through this time that we're going through right now. This is a part of the maturation of a football team. This is the part of the growth of the football team. They're going through stuff. You're playing a lot of youthful guys that will take these stripes and they'll use them when they really become juniors and seniors and they're playing in the thick of it. You know, so I think on both sides, like you said, there's a lot of things that were wrong. There's no doubt. And the world's going to tell them everything that's wrong. They know that. But in our 4 walls, you know, how can we grow? How can we build off what we're doing? How can we get better? And how can we learn from every experience that we're having right now to give ourselves a chance when we get into league play.
Thanks, Coach.
Tommy, any other questions for Coach?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
Coach, any final thoughts before we send you on your way to get ready for Penn State?
Nope, I appreciate the coverage, and go Flashes, King Grit.